Cool.
We're being live streamed. Hello, the What's On It Elephant and Castle Facebook page. I am Nick from Retribe, and joining me today is Martin Reid. Martin is a documentary and filmmaker, and me and him go back probably 2 decades and a little bit more. He's a dear friend of mine. I'm really grateful that he can join us today in between this kind of manic schedule that he has with creating moving image with substance and narrative and beautiful, amazing stories. Martin, it's a pleasure to see you. Thank you much for joining us. And I know you're shattered, but thanks for your time.
No problem. No problem.
I'm just going to hit a few links, but while I do that, could you please explain to the community who you are and what you do?
So I think I can call myself a filmmaker now after 22 years. I just made a film for Channel 4, my first cut. I started this journey when I was 21. I met Nick when I was a runner at a company called CTV, a post-production house, which was brilliant, actually. It was a crazy place. How did I get that job? I was trying to get a job in TV for ages and I just couldn't get one. And then I was only 19, I met this 30-year-old woman, and the next thing I know, I had a job at CTV. So yeah, I started as a runner and became like an edit assistant, but I always wanted to make films and documentaries and stuff. And it was quite hard to break through. So I just started making music videos and documentaries and stuff like that, which I was just saying to Nick are still in a box as archive because no one ever used or it was just hard at the time to break into TV. I'll say it's a very classist industry, and coming from the background that I came from a council estate, quite working class as well, you know, you're not taught how to be professional, you're not taught much, but what you do have is lots of access and lots of stories and stuff like that. So people were always interested in stealing my access, I would say. So yeah, that in my 20s, I was making music videos and documentaries, which wasn't going anywhere, and trying my best to, you know, I did have work here and there, but it was really hard to break through. And then, should I carry on with?
Yeah, carry on, man.
So towards my 30s, basically I have incurable insomnia caused by a racing mind, and I'm able to go into stage 2 sleep. But it didn't really affect me in my 20s because I had too much energy. So it wasn't a problem. But as I got older, I have all these ideas, but I'm unable to do anything with them because I didn't have the focus and I was tired. So I finally got diagnosed with ADHD and chronic insomnia. And rather than get therapy, I was just thrown a load of medication, a lot of it. And then things weren't going too well. And before I knew it, I was having a mental health breakdown and I was homeless. I ended up homeless, which was, yeah, it was crazy. That lasted for about a year or two. Completely depressed. I've never been depressed in my life. So I stopped the Ritalin and all the other crap that they were giving me. And I decided to go to Newport in South Wales and go to uni. So I did that. And in my first year, I got approached by BBC3 to make a film on homelessness, which I did. And I smashed it. And I won an award, Best Documentary, which was amazing. And then I got my mojo just came back. It was, truthfully, it was gone. And then it came back. I was still taking sleeping tablets because it was helping me sleep, you know, and I was doing an awful lot of work. So I went back to uni. I made a graduation film that got nominated, well, it was a nominee in LA. It was on fraud. I documented a fraudster, one of the best in Europe. Still don't know how he gave me the access. So I did that, and then I was flying. I did some undercover for ITV, smashed that. developed a prison expose within 6 weeks and brought HMP Birmingham down, contract down. And then I found myself homeless again. Because it's just so hard to break into TV, and still they wanted to. I was being told you don't have the intelligence. Even by then, I had a first degree from uni and the other stuff, and so I developed a police corruption film, which I exposed South Wales Police. Another thing called the IPP sentence, which I've been working on for 5 years now. And when I made the police corruption film, I sent it to BBC, and they said, we'll take it and we'll remake it. And that's when a mentor came along, and someone that's never mentored anyone before, quite a big person, and said, that's it. He emailed all commissioners and companies and went, from now on, I'm mentoring him. And then I got commissioned to make a film on my insomnia. And by then I was on 16 sleeping tablets a night, which osopaclone, which they told me you should be dead. We don't even know how you're alive. Like, this dose is insane. You know, people take one a night. And I was still working on this dose. So during the film, I was sent to Amsterdam for tests and Oxford University. And we found out that, I can't go into stage 2 sleep. That's why I'm in the sleep, half conscious, half awake. And I've got a manic mind at night that's generating too much ideas. So I withdrew in a world record amount of time. I think I did it in 8 weeks. The doctors was like, please don't do this, Mark, but I did it. And I cured 5 other people, and I opened a sleep hospital in Wales. And at the end of it, I still wasn't cured of my insomnia, but I was completely off the tablets. And then, I found myself struggling again in the industry because of the same issues. And then the pandemic came along, and that changed everything, because whilst everyone was kind of frozen, I went out there 3 days before the lockdown. I just knew what was going on, and I attached myself. Well, I've been developing ideas with people that work for Deliveroo, and then I got onto prisons, like COVID scandals, care homes, and then commissioners started to notice me. And then I met a multi-millionaire. I don't know how that happened. A lady called Amanda, and I convinced her to make a film with me. Channel 4 commissioned it. Finally found commissioners that respect my work, because my style is quite unusual. It's very observational. From all the years in my 20s where no one wanted to mentor me or teach me anything, I ended up teaching myself and just observationally documenting. And I've really made that into a certain style and craft. And now it's great because the TV world wants unscripted documentary. So I just finished making that film, and producing it and doing everything, which was quite hard, but it's gave me the platform to have a career. And I'm editing 2 other films on cycling. One's on like wheelie racing and racing with no front wheel. And it's an initiative in London called Knives Down, Wheels Up. It's about getting kids off the streets and out of gangs and into something. So I'm doing that. I'm doing another prison expose, and I'm thinking of other ideas. So yeah, that's kind of my journey. And also in between that, I spent a year in prison in Dubai, my 20s, defrauding banks and hotels. So we only hurt rich people, which gave me a good slap around the head, actually. So all these experiences, being homeless, being in prison, being ostracized from the industry, all of these things, I feel have got me to where I am now. Like, I'm happy to have been through all of these experiences. I use them in my filmmaking now, and that's why I find it so easy to access almost anything or anyone. because I've worn the shoes of so many people. And I guess I had to kill myself, like literally murder the old Martin. And it was hard to murder him for the real one to emerge, a bit like yourself.
Yeah, we've got a lot to unpack there, buddy. I wanted to kind of let you go on that story because I wanted to catch up with you, man, because, you know, it's been 20 years since we've probably we're together in each other's company. And we both went off on these journeys that have brought us to where we are today. And yeah, like you said, with me, there was a passing of the old Nick. You know, I actually wrote a eulogy to Nicky Boy, you know, like the guy that you met that drove the Porsche and was like all kind of trying to be this guy that really he wasn't. And I had to say, I wrote a eulogy and I read it out loud to my business partner, and I just cried, man. I just cried. I was like, goodbye, that old Nicky Boy, you know. But it wasn't a bad kid. Nicky Boy wasn't a bad kid. He was just lost, you know, and didn't have any kind of purpose and passion, and was led down these paths of like trying to put on this image, you know, trying to be someone who I wasn't.
Yeah.
And that journey. Yeah, carry on.
I want to say something about that because, you know, I don't sleep. So I think about these things every night, especially the past. And I think if I had the brains I had now and the experience I had now, if I had had the success I'm having now, God knows what would have happened. Because like you, I didn't have no purpose. You know, so I think would I end up either, you know, having a family and being quite well off, or being a drug baron and being quite well off? It would have been one of the two. And so I'm quite happy that old Martin existed and went through all that pain and suffering, because without that experience, I wouldn't be the man I am now. I wouldn't have purpose. So without little Nicky, you wouldn't be Big Nick, would you?
No, I wouldn't be. And I sit there sometimes and I think about it, because I had that TV career on Sky Sports, and I think about the guys and girls that I worked with, and now they're on the covers of this and the covers of that. And I'm like, I was just as good as them. And I could sit there and I go, just like you, if I would have had that success then, I would probably be dead, because I was an alcoholic, you know, and I liked the other things too. And it was, you know, if I would have had those kind of resources at my disposal back then I wouldn't be alive today. Because I, like you too, I almost had a physical death, you know, like alcohol was not working in my body. It was killing it. And my liver was failing, and I had acute pancreatitis, and I was dying of dehydration and malnutrition. And so physically I think I had to have that physical death, you know, of almost physical death before I could go. My ego was reduced enough to go, wow, I need help here. You know, and those two words helped me, where they saved my life, because I was always taught growing up the same way you did, is that we can sort out all our own problems. You know, real men don't ask for help. Real men don't cry. And it was those ideas that almost killed me. And it wasn't only when I discovered that, you know, having a space to express my emotions has been the most beneficial thing to me, because I am scared, you know, a lot of the times, and I am sad, and I need to be able to let people know that, you know. Anyway, so let's go back into when we met. You know, we had some fun times and stuff, and I remember you being an ideas guy. You were young, you were excitable, but you were always coming up with ideas. And I think it was this combination of your ideas, but the access that you had. And one that just before we went live, you had that. I just remember the name Pumpers, because I didn't know that the guys at the slot machines were just sitting there putting money in. They were pumping the slot machines, and you just were always coming up with ideas. Just briefly, what did happen to Pumpers?
Nothing happened. Nothing happened to it, because it was a great pilot doc, the rest of it. But you know, I just didn't have, you know, what you needed. Or I just couldn't get commissioned. But bringing that up, that's the gambling thing was an addiction I had from 11 years old, and how I conquered it and then unconquered it was at 21. I met someone that taught me that these are programs and there's way to make money out of them rather than lose. So I became a professional fruit machine player. And then when I had my breakdown, when everything was going wrong, I kind of started gambling again, and things changed because it was digital, random generated roulette wheels. And that's what I used to help kind of destroy myself. And people don't even know this to this day. You know, there's people 10, 12 years ago that probably think, yeah, what happened to Martin? You know, he fell apart, probably think I was doing drugs and all the rest of it. And they have no idea that I was doing 25 grand on a roulette wheel and then trying to find money, whatever way to do it again, because that was part, I didn't know at the time, of destructing myself. But I've overcome all that as well. And the thing with the ideas is that I remember the ideas coming so fast in my head. Couldn't even remember to write that. They were so fast. And I remember how frustrating it was having to come up with ideas like that and not be able to do anything with it because of the ADHD and just not having anyone around me, like a production company or anything like that. You know, so yeah, you know, the ideas thing is, and I still do it now. I mean, on 216 to 218, 219, when I was like, right, I will make a film a month and throw it in this industry's face so they take up notice. I did it. I made 27 films, you know, and
I remember
to the point, you know, channels were like, this guy, like, what?
Yeah.
What are we going to do with him? So
yeah. There was a guy that we both know that I worked with, and he was always like, Martin's got such great ideas. Martin's got such ideas. And then what do you think it was like where people were like, oh, this guy can't be serious because he's always coming up with so many ideas? Like, do you think there's this thing of like people who maybe have one idea that they're just so super passionate about, or someone like yourself who's like, I think it's a gift that you have so many really, because every time you talk to me about an idea, if you came into the office and we had a chat, I'm like, that's brilliant. Just like the other guy who I worked with would say the same thing. And then what was that struggle like where you were like, you knew you were coming up with good ideas, but like people are like, he's too young. He looks the way he looks.
Yeah.
He's from a council estate. You can't take him serious.
Yeah. So like, I think one frustrating thing, I mean, most of those ideas coming up is watching them come on TV. And actually, when I was in Dubai, I came up with an idea called Chances. Well, that wasn't the name, but I came up with an idea where I was filming MC battles and I wanted to take this to America. And I went to a company, told them, I went to Dubai, come back a year later to find out that one episode had been made. The second episode was being made, and it was being made by my own friends who were directors and who told me to keep my mouth shut, and they would give me a little role on the job. That role never happened. And then the attitude that I had with people around me was like, you know, don't use Martin. If they have to lose someone from the production crew, lose Martin because he ain't that intelligent, you know, or, you know, I had this issue where even I was told by one director, like, well, we won't help you because you could become a threat. And at the time I was like, how am I a threat? I don't even know anything. So yeah, it was frustrating watching those ideas end up on TV, you know, and years after I came up with them and banging my head against the wall and, you know, being surrounded by like, you mean, you know, yourself and others, but it was more the others that could have given me the opportunity. It would have been hard to them. And, you know, I know what it was. It was a mixture of, you know, yeah, I was a cheeky chappy, I may not have been on time all the time and stuff like that. But I always remember when anyone did employ me, I always did the best job. They always came to me and went, you know, everything was brilliant. Everything was bang on. I never partied. If ever I was working on a shoot day, that, you know, there was never enough. And it's cliquey. That's what it was. It was cliquey, and they decided that I weren't part of the clique, you know, and even just before everything fell apart, you know, I was desperate for work and things like that. And these people weren't having it. But what's great about 10 years later, and which was quite a strange feeling when I finished my Channel 4 film, because it was a lot of work and I'm an immersive filmmaker. So I immersed myself into the films. And it was a strange feeling because, you know, I've proved myself and I've proved those people wrong. Those people that have said, I mean, I had one 3 years ago, you're your expectation outreaches your grasp, or the other way around. Like, and I sit here now thinking, well, my grasp is you know, overawed all expectation. But yeah, it was horrible at the time. It made me angry. And to be honest, people laugh because every film I've made, like in the last 5 years, people call them revenge films. They went, Mark, they said you wouldn't get commissioned or this wouldn't happen. And you went and did it. And I do think I do well when people piss me off. And just going on to the idea thing, I mean, I see an idea, like my mentor goes, you're like 3 days ahead of time. You see things that no one else sees. And I'll go out and find it, literally, you know. So
I believe you, man. Like, and I truly do believe it's a gift. I think that people can always say, you know, ideas are a dime a dozen, but because most people sit there and they're thinking. But I think that having a concept that, I don't know, you know, I just think you probably know where I am in my life, is that I do believe that there's some kind of connection or some kind of energy flow or something beautiful about this planet. And I think that people have certain gifts and abilities to do certain things, and recognizing your brain, you know, in the way you are. And the fact that it's, like I say, 20 years ago, you were always coming up with really cool ideas. And the thing that you've done is you've never given up. You've never given up in your beliefs and your convictions of what you want to try to do. And that came across in your latest thing that I saw on Channel 4, is that you're not one of those people that's going to try to dive into a story to make someone look stupid. You want to try to make a story. And I really like that about you. It's like, we live in such a cynical world, you know, where it's so easy to criticize, it's so easy to judge, but to come up with a nice story that tells something, a juxtaposition of your world and her world. I thought you did a really good job at it. It came across as something that I just felt like I said, I think you could have gone down a path of making, you know.
If you see the pre-titles, it was
yeah.
you know, fireworks,
Yeah.
and Channel 4 was like, because the commissioners knew me, they was like, Mark, where's the fireworks? Where's and I said, it ain't that kind of film.
No.
Firstly, and secondly, you know, I wanted to make something. Basically, on that film, I went on the journey, and people won't see it, but I really tried to change this woman and make her open her eyes. And no one sees this at the end, but she actually says, "You've gave me purpose. I know that I need to do more with my money and stuff." And just coming back to what you was just saying about the ideas and thing, you know, Heath Ledger is someone I looked up to. I made an insomnia film, and I did a massive development. And at night, when I've got classical music playing on and I'm vibing, and there's no alcohol, nothing's needed, and I know I'm channeling. You know, you're saying the same thing, you know, it's like, it has to be, because I don't know where these ideas come from, and then I don't know how I then learned how to script it in 3 days, you know. And I think all creatives have this, be it from Mozart to Kanye West to any of them, all of them, there is a secret language in music and in plants, and if you can tap in and hear it, you know, that's where the creativity comes from.
I love the fact that you say that there is like plants, energy, the earth, you know, like it is something that we can't just dismiss. And I think that guys who look like you and me, you know, I don't know how you must be in your early 40s, right?
Early 40s. I don't usually look like this.
Yeah.
I've lost about 5 stone. I've got a stomach ulcer, and I'm sleeping 2 hours a day. So, you know, I look fresh in the film, but it's had my toll. Yeah, I'm in my early 40s. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in my early 50s. So, you know, but guys who look like us don't normally talk about the universe and energy and plants. And I think that in anybody who goes, oh, those guys are just granola eating tree huggers, that isn't where we're coming from. I'm just saying the fact that I try to live my life with all my own thoughts and needs and wants, not needs, but my wants. I want this so that you'll like me. I want this so that she'll date me. I want this so that I can get a different colored credit card. All of these things that I thought, the exterior stuff, the same thing, the relief that a drink would give me, the same thing that, you know, gambling would give you, is always looking for exterior stuff to realize that, man, I'm just a child of the universe. And I just have this one purpose on life, which is just to help my fellow man. And that's all I mean. I do to hug a tree every once in a while, don't get me wrong. But it isn't about kind of spiritual yogi talk. This is about becoming part of humanity and saying, you know, I'm just part of this. Let's be part of something together.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I ain't no tree hugger. Like, I come from Cross, you know,
Yeah.
my circles in past, then maybe not so now, you know, they wouldn't entertain any of this, but it is what it is, you know. And as with age, you become conscious, and that's the difference, I think, with you as well. I was unconscious, and I had to say in my 20s, I had no confidence. People don't know this. People think I'm confident. I had no confidence at all. That is why I was unable to do anything. And I was always trying to impress people all the time, you know, impress people, trying to make sure I've got money in my pocket to keep up with people. And that was the problem. I focused on, you know, projecting something that wasn't real rather than working on myself, you know. And let me tell you something, I was someone, I'd have an idea, but nothing ever got done. To the guy now, like, when I say I'm doing something, it gets done and I do it. Like, if I say I'm going to the moon, I'm going to the moon. I'll call some Nigerians up, get some fuel, get some metal. I will get there, you know. And it's shocking to know the levels that I have now that was untapped in my 20s, you know, because of all these, you know, the lack of confidence was the biggest one, you know. Lack of confidence. The gambling just sucks the confidence dry every day, you know. You're trying to be someone, and you've got this you know, this disease that doesn't, like a demon that doesn't leave you alone. You know, when I finished the film the other week, I wanted to gamble, but I didn't. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? And I know why, because I've sacrificed everything to do what I do now. I don't have no social life. I don't have no girlfriend. I don't go out. I just work. And I make.
Well, I love the fact that you're doing what you do, but I'm gonna try to make sure that you have a little bit of a. I'm gonna look out for you now, Martin. I want you to make some calls and get into London. Let's go to this. I think you and I do need a couple of good restaurant trips. You know, some good steaks, some good food, some good conversation. We got 20 years of catching up to do, brother.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's one thing I've got to learn, to balance the life work thing out now, because literally I've become obsessed, and you know, you do have to.
Yeah. Do you know what you mentioned? You grew up in King's Cross, because that's the other thing. You told me stories of, like, I want to say, I remember Pentonville, like that around that council. So you tell me some stories around there. You know, like London is full of areas that, you know, there can be a lot of struggle, a lot of crime, and a lot of, you know, disconnect. What was it like growing up on a council estate in King's Cross to now living in Cardiff? Like, I know we've talked about that journey, but what was it like growing up in King's Cross?
I mean, it was, you know, people think King's Cross is some posh area, you know, because it got gentrified. But let me tell you something, when I was young, it was one of the worst estates in London. It was horrific. You know, we had heroin addicts, crackheads, pimps, everything you can imagine on the estate coming from King's Cross to do all those things. And it's a melting pot of people that are all, you know, in poverty and struggling. But then the positives is it's a melting pot of diversity. So, you know, everyone from all cultures and that gets on. But it's hard because there's crime, there's no money, you're watching your family struggle to put food on the table, of other madness that's going on the estate. And, you know, the only things you think you'll end up getting out of it is a boxer, a footballer, or a criminal. That was the three outtakes. And it's funny because I've had some friends call me from the past, and they're like, mate, Mark, you've gone from King's Cross to Warner Bros, you know, like, how have you done that? So yeah, it was tough, but at the time I kind of enjoyed it as well. When you're young, you know, because we used to have like a few squats in the estate and stuff. I don't know, and sometimes it can be a little bit exciting as you get older, being in the criminal kind of world and thing. But yeah, now I'm older, I realize how much it's hampers you not having an education, not coming from a place of stability, not even wealth, just stability, like, you know, being able to pay the bills and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's really hard. And like, one of the things I'm going to do in TV now, I mean, I've set a production company up. When I won my awards, I called out the whole place. They couldn't believe it. I won't say what I said, but that's what also got me a lot of
family time right now.
Yeah, no, I just told the industry that it's too middle class, it's too white, you know, like they're not helping enough people from disadvantaged backgrounds get in, and we've got a lot to offer. Like, you can't keep sending out people to make films that have no relatability to the subject matter. How is that possible? You know, so people, you know, so now I'm all about helping people from backgrounds that I've come in to break TV, and I don't want them to spend 23 years to do it. I will help. I'm hoping my journey will now make sure that they don't have to go through that. So I'm in a unique position because there is no one lower working class that I know of, apart from Ricky, my editor.
Ricky.
Yeah,
I talked to Ricky a few weeks ago, or a few months ago. Yeah.
So there's working class and there's lower working class. And I was told the other week, there's no one like you. There's no one that's been living up in poverty, ended up homeless at 16, prison and all the rest of it. And here I am, I'm educated, I'm just as smart as anyone else. And I'm going to make a career in TV and I'm going to do well. I hope.
You are doing well. You are doing well. I think that's the thing, is we're always, when we look at it, we're where we're meant to be. And sometimes, like, I've been in a lot of fear this morning. I woke up in a lot of, like, you know, I got up at about 5 and I had those kind of cold sweats of like, oh man, I just turned 51. And, you know, I'm rebuilding. I started rebuilding my life at 45 years old. You know, at 45 years old, man, I was smashed. Like, I had nothing. You know, I had to borrow money off of family and friends just to eat food. And I was living, you know, in a squat because I wasn't paying my rent. And it wasn't for a nice landlord, I would have been on the streets in Toronto. And I had actually just gotten sober then too. So it wasn't even like I was an active drunk. I was sober, but I was just beaten and lost, and I just had nowhere to go. And it was in this kind of thing of like, oh, most of my friends had made it at 45. They were probably just paying off their last few months or a couple of years of their mortgage, you know, and they've got their 2 cars and they've got their house and they've got their girlfriend or their wife and they've got kids. And I was looking at myself going, man, I'm a complete and utter failure because I don't have any of that. And then, you know, it's been like 6 years of rebuilding my life to where I am today, where, you know, I have to be gentle to the new Nick and say, hey buddy, you know, you are where you're meant to be. Because if I would have had all that stuff, I wouldn't have these set of glasses that help me see the world today, which is a world that needs guys like me to be able to help other men, you know, through these kind of processes. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel that fear too. And I think that when I'm scared like that, it's like, oh, this fear is trying to teach me something. Nick, it's not that you're 51. It's okay. You are where you are, but maybe you could put a little bit more effort in, or, you know, maybe you could reach out to a few more people. Maybe you could just, so normally fear is there to teach me something, not to beat me down. But I've always got to work on not beating me down, you know, because I can be my biggest critic, right? Oh, you're a failure. You're this, you haven't got this by now. And really it's just, again, being gentle and kind to ourselves and saying, hey, we are where we're meant to be. You know, can you feel that with you, that you are exactly where you're meant to be right now?
Yeah. But, you know, like, I'll just say, like, that self-destruction thing that I felt the other week after I delivered the film, I mean, you know, that made no sense at all. It took me days to get my head around it. And I was like, well, of course, Mark, like, that's what you've done your whole life. Whenever you're about to succeed, you self-destruct because you think that you don't deserve to be happy. You don't, you know, so I've overcome that. And yeah, I do feel where I'm meant to be. And like, you know, I've been on this journey 9 years now. At 212, I started to rebuild myself. And 10 years later, I'm, you know, financially, I don't really give a shit about money. You know, that will come. I don't care what other people have around me. I obviously know I haven't got a family and I haven't invested, but man, the journey that I've been on, like, is bonkers. And the journey I'm about to go on, you know, is even more bonkers. You know, I've got everything I could have dreamed of, really. And, you know, so yeah, I used to look back at and feel jealous, or not jealous, but, you know, everyone else has moved on, because that's what happens, right? When you work on yourself, you get to a place, you stop, you're like, you know, oh, I want to reconnect with these people. These people are gone, they've moved on, they're different people.
Yeah.
You know, but
It's funny.
I've let go of all animosity to anyone in the past. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, no, me too. It's not worthwhile. But I think the thing that I feel where you and I are is in the depths of our relationships. And I think that there's something about when you go through what we've been through, you get a deeper sense of just a deeper meaning in relationships. And I can look at my friends who I think have made it in terms of having the stuff. But then I look at their relationships and I look at their lives. I'm like, man, you're not, you know, it just feels superficial, you know. And I think that is the price that sometimes you pay in going through what we've been through, is that our level of empathy and feeling other people's journeys is deeper. And for that, you know, I'm really, really grateful, because that puts me in a place to be of better service, to help other people, you know, to having those relationships that have some real depth and weight, I think, to them. And that's what I'm really, and no money can buy those relationships. No.
I mean, you know, the reason I'm always half asleep, you know, I must spend 5 hours a day on the phone to prison, people in prison, their family members. I've got other people, all these people that rely on me, not rely on me, I'm helping them through my filmmaking, you know, and it's a good feeling, you know, and it's quite draining, but I know that's my purpose. I know that's the reason I've been given a second chance. And this, you know, I had to remember this a few years ago. Mark, you haven't just been given all this to go and party, you know, and all, because I did for a little bit, not crazy. I was like, right, I'm going to enjoy some of this. And then, you know, I recognized, like, the second chance isn't to live happily ever after. It's, you have purpose now, so get out there and help others. And that's, you know, the one interesting thing about making a film with a load of multi-millionaires is none of them had any purpose, and they couldn't understand why I was so happy and so driven. And when I broke down, you know, I've got a purpose in life other than having, you know, drinks, lunches and dinners, and they were jealous of that.
I think it's because a lot of people think that they need to acquire certain things to reach a level of comfort, right? That level of comfort of being able to wake up in the morning, maybe have someone come and help you with your life or whatever, and then to go for lunch and to do stuff and to maybe do some work. But it's these kind of things of like our expectations of that's what success looks like. What I know now is that that's not life. And that I'm here for maybe 80 years, right? On average, 80 turns of the sun. And it's like, I don't think my purpose or humans' purpose is to reach some level of comfort of just homogeny, and just because without challenge, without purpose, we never progress. Can you imagine, like, you know, 20,000 years ago, Homo sapiens in this kind of species that we're in now, just being all comfortable, living in a few caves and mud huts, you know, and just kind of getting out and being so comfortable that we wouldn't progress to where we are today. We are only where we are today because we've been challenged, because we've been uncomfortable, because we've been experiencing some sense of growth and survival. And I think that's a beautiful thing about being a human being, is that, man, we got to challenge ourselves. We got to constantly strive to evolve and change and transform, so that when I do reach these levels of like, oh, do you know what? I am okay. It means that another part of growth or another challenge is going to come around. And that's probably what this morning was for me, is that there's just new challenges coming. And it's like, Nick, get ready for them. You know, don't just sit back and be like, oh, always me. You know, get ready for the challenges of life to come, because it's that kind of world, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So just tell me a few little things about the filming and how filming for you, has it changed a lot over the years, where you saw that kind of the birth of the MTV generation and everyone filming on VX1000s, and, you know, to today where we can kind of go out with these things?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's interesting, because one of the film I'm making on this bike culture, which is amazing in London, is my editor's just been stunned. He's like, Mark, like, because they're creating their own content, made me laugh, because you know, 20 years ago, I had this same idea when Final Cut Pro had just come out and you know, DV cameras. And I was like, look, you know, you can make your music video or your show on your council estate, edit it in your bedroom and send it off to a channel. And that's just progressed massively to, you know, people have their own platforms and yeah, they have all this technology, which is great. But it's also great for my style as well, which, you know, just being observational and just following a story and never trying to, you know, contrive it really. I do inspire things to go a certain way sometimes. And it's quite complex because, you know, I could film for 400 hours, you know, just to capture what I want. And I think TV is going back to the old style of documentation, because documentary is documentation. It's not faking things. It's not having a drone shot come down, a shot of the presenter at the front, and that it's too formatted. And we need to go back to, I enjoy it, or I feel like we need to go back to observational documentary, you know, where we're not manipulating the storyline. And, you know, that's why I think my work does so well, is because it's real, it's raw, it's getting a bit more polished in how it looks and everything, because that's what the channels want. And I think the power is in the individual. Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm working for some big companies. I'm not going to say their names because some of them are arseholes. They just want to own all your work, pay you no money and everything. And I think, you know, the power of being able to do that on your own channel or platform is brilliant. And it's making it an even playing field. Yeah, and giving people from my background, they can now set up YouTube channels and whatnot, and they can do things without needing to be part of a big company or you know, a privileged organization. You know, so the times are changing, and they're changing fast. Yeah. I reckon that, you know, I tell the commissioners all the time, they hate it. I say you've got about 10 years left and you'd be dead. Yeah. The Instagram's taking over, and they go, we don't want to hear that. And I'm like, well, you need to. I'm telling you, you need to merge it, otherwise you'll be left behind.
Well, that's it. You know, like I think there's always going to be a foot in the TV world. I think that you're right; they have to evolve and change. But I remember, like even like 10 or 15 years ago, everyone's like, everything's TV's dying, TV's dying. But I think that there still is always going to be, you know, they've survived, and there's always going to be a place for mainstream, you know, terrestrial channels. But I think it's in terms of, it can't be like the wallpaper stuff, you know, like you say, the drone shots that look pretty and the fast little edits cut to music. And, you know, people need some stuff, some substance of some good, like some stories that aren't manipulated. Like Instagram, you don't trust anything on Instagram because it's all filtered and fake, you know. Same thing with TikTok. You just can't believe any of it. Same thing with that medium, because it's not censored. You know, you're getting, you know, news articles and little pieces of information that are completely false, you know, but people believe them. And so I think that we need to have some, some honor around the stories that we're telling. And I get a sense that that's what you want to try to do, is just no BS, just tell a story and have people like it or not. If you know, if it's not your cup of tea, you can turn it off.
I mean, there's a big lust now all of a sudden for unscripted, working class, true stories, crime stories, all the rest of it that comes along with the diversity push in TV, which is all a load of bollocks. I'm telling you straight, like, it's, you know, all these companies have this paragraph at the bottom, you know, we're open to people with disadvantaged backgrounds, diverse backgrounds, and this and that, and it's not happening. I'm telling you, it's not happening. Yeah, maybe a few people that went to Eton that are diverse are getting a tick box, but, you know, and that's another thing I'm trying to teach production companies at the moment as well. It's like little things like, you know, like this is not talk about myself, but you can't expect someone from a working class background that has no overdraft limit to pay their own train and expenses for the thing, and then wait 6 to 8 weeks to pay it. There's all these barriers, and, you know, sorry to move a bit, but, you know, some companies are doing really amazing to change things, and some are just bullshitting. And I just like, so you're talking about enriching documentary and telling stories in a certain way, and the only way to do that is to have as many people from as many backgrounds and class, most importantly, because social diversity is the worst. That's the biggest problem. It doesn't matter what color or race you are. If you're from a disadvantaged background, you ain't going nowhere. So I'd like production companies to start, really stepping up and giving more people opportunities. It can't be right that the same people from certain, sorry to go on about it, universities and backgrounds get first dibs. It's just, and that's what will diversify TV. And it is being diversified by Instagram and those platforms. So.
But also, Martin, you know what? You are an example that you can break through. A lad from a council estate in King's Cross to having, his latest production on Channel 4 commissioned and gone out there. And I think you are a testimony to just stick at it. If you have a dream and a belief and a talent in something, it's to stick at it and to embrace the dark times, because it's the dark times.
I've always done it with a smile. And no matter how tough or how impossible things are, I just like, because when you've been in tough situations in your life, faced death many times, there's nothing to fear. What's there to fear? There isn't nothing.
What can we look forward to coming down the pipeline? What can we see to your next production that we can see somewhere?
I'm in talks about doing a series in America, because they like me in front of the camera. Said I'm not sure what you're going to say next, so there's that. As I said, I'm doing some stuff on prisons, exposing them, so doing that. And what else? I've got to finish these bite films off, which will probably lead to more bite films, and I'll put another few ideas into Channel 4 that they're interested in. One of them's like basically teaching me to play polo and pigeon shooting and all those. So they're coming up with these mad ideas now. So we shall see.
Just stay you, man. Stay you.
Yeah, I just need to put some weight back on and have a break.
Well, you need to get when next time you're in London, let me know. Let's go for a steak.
Oh, I might have to have chicken because I've got a stomach ulcer.
Okay.
Meat. Been 2 months now. I've been eating soup for 2 months. But I'm almost better now. So lesson to everyone: be careful of burnout, because it does exist. And just before, you said it's all testament to me not giving up. But like, hopefully, no one else has to spend 22 years doing what I'm doing. And I hope off the back of what I've done, I can help people get in a lot quicker, because it ain't fair to sacrifice everything.
Well, listen, you've got purpose today. You've got passion. I love it. I do love you, man. I'm grateful that we've been able to stay connected even after all these times. And like I say, we've come through the dark night of the soul to stay soulmates and soul brothers. So really appreciate your time. I know you're really super busy. Thanks everybody for joining us. Martin, just let me know how people can get in touch with you. If they want to send me a text, and I'll put it in the Facebook feed if they want to ask you any questions, or if they're
my Instagram or Facebook.
Just ping it all to me and I'll put it in the Facebook feed.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Thank you, Martin. Thanks everyone for joining us. Don't forget to join me on Thursday at 11 a.m. for another Tough Through Tender gathering. Thank you. We'll see you then. And again, thank you so much, Martin. Take it easy.
No problem. See you soon. See ya.